Okay. Hello, everybody. How's it going today?
Great.
Okay, so it's finally here. We are here for the Bloomer Roundtable. So, what is a bloomer? A bloomer is someone who has taken my course, The Business Behind the Blooms, which is a tell all roadmap for your wedding business. We have bloomers here from all 3 years of BBB launches, and they're ready to share it all with you how they found BBB, what you can expect from the course, and what's changed since they first dove in. Okay, I cannot wait. And be sure that you ask any questions that you have in the comment section, and Kelly is on standby and she will get those to us so that we can answer them at the end. Okay, so this is going to be really good. This is the first time we've done this, and I think this is going to be super helpful for people who are contemplating whether this is a good thing or not, so I think it'll be really, really good. So let me introduce everybody to you. We have Rachel Wave. She is a 3-year graduate. We have Trisha, a 2-year graduate, and then Ashley, who is a 1-year graduate of BBB. So we have tons of perspective here. So let's just jump in. And Ashley, I want to start with you because you have the newest business. So you bought BBB last year before you even started your business. What made you invest in BBB, and how did it change the startup process from what you had originally imagined?
So I knew I wanted to have my own floral design business. And I had spent time kind of learning the design piece of it. And I knew I wanted to start it strategically and intentionally and not just kind of jump all in. And I think I had tried to find in different ways, like somebody who would mentor me. But the people I reached out to either like weren't able to help because they were trying to figure it out themselves, or wouldn't share, or it was just kind of a general kind of generic help. So when I found Jessica on Instagram and started listening to her stories and then joined some of her free webinars, I knew if the course she was selling was half as good as what she was teaching me for free, that it would help. And I will say I had like slight nerves about, I've heard, this is what you're going to get if you buy this. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But I was so pleasantly surprised by the fact that what's in BBB is actually what she's telling you is in there. She gives practical examples. And then as far as like changing what I thought, like, the startup process would be like, I feel like my whole mindset has changed. I feel like it's helped me. Jessica's actually helped me to think of my business as a business, and learning from somebody who has done it successfully has just been a total game changer. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Rachel, how did your business start and what made you invest in BBB?
Yeah, so I've always loved flowers, and when I got married, about 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to do my own wedding flowers, and so I approached that with a very like novice DIY bride approach, and then from that, a couple friends who went to our wedding wanted me to do their wedding flowers, and it kind of spiraled and happened pretty organically of just like friends and friends of friends wanting me to do their weddings, which was really fun. And for a while, it was just great because I got to like do stuff with flowers. And then it kind of, I wouldn't say it stalled. I was getting more and more work, but I wasn't, it was kind of like the high of just getting to work with flowers was rubbing off. And I was realizing like, I'm not making any money. More than that, I might be paying for some of these people's weddings from like my personal money because I want it to look really great and I'm not charging enough or like anything if, they were friends or family or something. So I realized I'm putting a ton of time and effort into this. And when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I wanted to quit my teaching job and stay home with her and do flowers at the same time. And so I realized if that's really what I want to do, then I need to actually start making money doing what I'm already doing. Because I was just tired of giving people deals, and then the people who I gave like the biggest deals to were always the most difficult to work with, and that was really frustrating. So I think, I don't know how, I might have seen like an Instagram post or an ad or something, but I hopped on a live training for like a mantle installation that Jessica was doing. And she was talking about flowers and talking about business behind like how you have a sturdy, solid floral business. And I don't remember what happened in between seeing that and buying BBB, but I just said to my husband, I know I need to get this. And so I just did. I was like totally all in. And yeah, that is, I think I just had a need, and Jessica was saying, like, identifying with me, and I knew that if I listened to her, that I could figure it out, basically, is what happened.
I love that. And can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah.
How we have a lot of people who, when they are really on the fence with purchasing BBB, a lot of times what they say is, I've got to talk to my significant other about this. Like, what do you have to kind of say about that? How did your experience go with that? I mean, I realize that I have a unique situation with my husband. He's just so supportive, but I also understand that when your business isn't making money, sometimes an investment like this has to come out personally. And how do you navigate that? Like, how do you pitch the idea? Or do you
Right.
feel like you have to pitch it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a pretty special husband. So I think that part of it could have just been, well, like we graduated college and got married right away, and he was still finishing up some courses and I worked. And so I think maybe I don't think he felt like guilty, but he was like, you just worked and I went to school and like you kind of supported us. Now you're staying home to be with our daughter. And so like if you want to figure out a viable way to do that, then of course I'm going to support that. But he's also way better like with finances than I am. I'm kind of like the dreamer and like super passionate, and he's like rock solid and super steady. But I think he saw how much I loved what I was doing and saw that like it really could be a real thing, and was so proud of me for wanting to do something, like recognizing that I'm really different than him, but like loving that. And so I think he asked a couple of good follow-up questions, like, what's your plan? Like, what would it take to make back that money? And I think I booked like a crappy wedding that I knew could pay for that. And so I was like, okay, I know if I do this, I like figured out a way to, I don't know, charge enough to buy the course. And then I knew like, okay, once I get this deposit in, or I'm going to get this deposit in, so I can kind of like move things around that way. But yeah, he was kind of like, let's do this and then we'll make it work.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Trisha, hi. In a few sentences, I want you to describe your business before BBB.
Very time consuming. I stayed overwhelmed. I was working 60 and 70-hour days. I didn't have just one job, I had three. I was very hesitant on taking on a wedding planning business again because I had already done that venture in my 20s and I'm now in my 40s. And I knew how hard it was the first time. But I wanted to do it. I was really passionate about doing it. I just felt lost. And I had bought 3 courses before BBB. So at that time, I was ready to walk away.
Yeah. How would you, I think we've been there, there's lots of people who've been there, and I think you meant 60, 70-hour weeks, not days, but yeah, weeks, but that's okay. I do stuff like that all the time. But yeah, I used to work that many hours a week, and it's just like, that is exhausting. So how would you have done your business differently in your 20s if you had BBB?
Oh God. Well, I think that my life would have been different. I felt like in my 20s, I had that courage and Also just the physical ability to build a team, but I truly did not know how. I don't really think the wedding industry was so different 20 years ago. We did everything the way that any other industry was doing it, but that doesn't work in the creative industry. There's so many gray areas. I really feel like had I implemented it 20 years ago, I probably could retire 10 years from now. But I don't have any regrets. I just wish I would have found you 20 years ago. Yeah.
That's really nice. And by the way, every time I talk to Trisha, I'm like, there's no way you're in your 40s, because she looks 17 to me. Like, I just am always like, there's just no way. I don't believe you. I need to see your driver's license for proof, but because you just look so young. Okay, Ashley. Ashley is our newest BBB student. She has had BBB for 1 year. And what was the first thing in BBB that made you think like, okay, this is what I've been looking for? And did taking BBB, did it make you feel excited, or was it like scary?
So I tend to learn things the hard way. Like, I never take lessons or do things like that. Like, I feel like I always learn things the hard way. So this was one of the first times I was really investing in myself to actually do something well. And I think the thing that I realized that is different about BBB, because I had taken one other course before this one, and it was good. But what am I trying to say? Sorry. Just how active you are in Instagram and the webinars. I don't know. I feel like I was actually getting an education and not just information. And you were telling your story, and it wasn't just here's a formula that anyone can do, that's very generic. You were sharing your story with us, which I feel like is just really unique, because you walk through very specific things. And I was able then to apply that to how I want to run my business in a way that's authentic to me. So it really felt like from the beginning that I was being mentored and led by the hand. And so I think initially I was super excited, and realizing I had done a lot of work on learning the design piece of flowers, but that the business piece is so different. And so I was excited to actually have some of the tools to do the business piece well and focus on my clients and meeting with brides. And I think now I'm more in starting to get more into reality, being about 8 months into my business, and kind of maybe more of a excited, nervous focus, because I'm realizing how much I didn't know about business and how much I'm learning. So yeah, I still excited, but I think I'm getting more and more grounded, applying things, continuing to learn with you, and actually putting everything into action. So
I love that. And I love how the thing that people always ask me, what makes BBB special or unique, or why BBB over anything else.
yeah.
And I do believe that it's the way that a student reads it. It doesn't read like education in the form of you need to study this and do this. And it's almost hopeful, because it's almost like instead of a how-to book, it's more of a memoir style. It's this is what I did, and you can relate to that because that's probably how you're doing it. And then it's then I had this moment where that didn't work, and now here's what I'm doing, and this is working. And you're kind of okay, this is where I am, and now that's how she solved the problem, and this was the result. So now I'm going to apply this to my business. And I think that that's what makes it truly unique and special, is that it's not coming from a place of do this. Mm-hmm. It's this is what works for me, and it works for hundreds of other people that have applied these things. And I think it's a more hopeful approach, kind of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I think, like I said earlier, I had tried to learn in different ways, and either somebody else was trying to figure it out. So even if they wanted to help me, they really couldn't, because they were in the same boat, or people were holding their cards so close that like they wouldn't share. And I just, yeah, BBB was like a breath of fresh air, because it like all the things I didn't even know I wanted to know, I was getting like insight into, which yeah, has just been so awesome. Like I really do feel like you're my mentor more than just somebody who I bought a course from. So
Oh, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I feel the same way about my students. Like I know you by name. I know your stories, and I don't know. I just like, and once a student, always a student. So I feel the same way. It really is like a community. So I do love it. Okay, Trisha, back to you. So how did BBB give you clarity about the trajectory of your business?
So I don't think I've ever told you this, but
Okay.
honestly, I was a little irritated when I implemented BBB and saw that it was working, because like I said before, I had already purchased 3 courses by the time I had a chance to implement BBB. And I'd made peace with walking away from wedding planning. I was done. Not because I didn't try, but because I had spent so much time and thousands of dollars on implementing other courses. And I was like, I'm just not meant to do this. I'm just going to walk away and I'll be fine. And I was also a venue director and a consultant, and I just felt like wedding planning was just a distraction. But I knew that I was so passionate about it. And that was the one role that I didn't want to walk away from. And so it started working. I started getting the clients that I wanted. I started automating a lot of the systems, and I was like, dang it. I have to give this another chance because it's actually working. And so it took me about a good 6 months after I implemented. I was still thinking about giving it up, or giving up one of the roles. And instead of doing that, I just implemented what I'd learned from BBB into all 3 businesses. And so I guess for me, the most important message that I have, because I think maybe I'm in a different position. I know a lot of the bloomers maybe a little younger, and this is their first business, and they're all fired up. And so I want people to know that you don't necessarily have to dream as big as Jessica does, because I mean, you build empires, you dream really, really big. And not everyone may be in that chapter. They may not want to build an empire. And I feel like the course just isn't really there on what you do or how you do it. It's just there to show you that there is a right way and there is a wrong way of running a business, no matter what that business is, whether it's a creative business or it's not a creative business. It's the basic tools that you need to run any business, period.
I love that story. And no, you've never told me that before. That makes me laugh. You're like, I was looking at it at first because it worked.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I shared a studio with my best friend. And after I landed that dream client, I slammed my books down. I walked over to her bay. We had matching bays. And I was like, I'm stuck. How can I not do this when it's this easy now? She's like, girl, that's just how God works.
Yep. Not funny. I love it. Well, thank you for saying that. Also, I want you to share something, because I heard you say something one time and I was like, this is genius. Of course, that is exactly right. Tell me about your former QuickBooks approach to time.
Okay, so one of the 3 courses was a course on QuickBooks. And so I took this course on QuickBooks and I created the most organized QuickBooks file in the world, because I was always taught that you can't run a business unless you have a foundation of accounting. And, QuickBooks is like the most popular accounting software out there. So I entered all of my services, all of my products, had a line item for everything. And seriously, in that course, no one ever mentioned charging for my time. And I felt so stupid, because I was not, to put in a flower order, people think it takes like a few minutes, but it takes days if you don't do it correctly. And I was not doing it correctly. So for me, that was probably the most valuable asset that BBB gave to my business is I wasn't being compensated for all the time it took me to do the work.
Good deal. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's a huge game changer when you start to just not price your product, but your time.
Yeah.
And you learn how to do that where people will pay you for it.
Yeah.
No matter where you live. I mean, I live in Conway, Arkansas. You live in Louisiana. Yeah. I mean, so Ashley,
Colorado.
Colorado, Virginia. I mean, no one here is like in New York City or LA or Atlanta, like in these big, huge cities where people think, well, you can get away with that there. Like, no, you just learn how to do it correctly and people will pay you for it. So I love that stood out to you. Okay, Rachel, back to you. Tell us about the first wedding you booked after you went through Business Behind the Blooms.
Yeah, so I got BBB in the fall. I believe it was the fall of 2017. I think you had like a soft launch in the spring of that year, maybe, and then you launched in like October or September of that year. So I got it and I like devoured it. I mean, it does kind of read like People magazine in some places. You're like, I can't believe I get to hear the inside scoop on this, or like, I don't know. It's just, I mean, I was like a English major in college, and my professors always used to say that you have to be specific to be able to reach like more people. You think you should be really general to reach more people, but you actually have to be really specific. And the stories and the examples and the anecdotes are so specific because they're like things that actually happened to Jessica, but that's what makes them so relatable. So even though you might not have been through the exact circumstance with the exact person that like Jessica went through, I was reading it and I was like, I'm so glad that you're telling me this because you're really successful. And this just happened to me yesterday and I felt like an idiot. So I think even from the very first read, I just felt so like seen and understood and hopeful for the first time in a long time. I didn't feel like I was the only idiot in the world not understanding how to run this business well. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, so I read it. And then Ashley too. I read it and then I had a meeting. I immediately changed like everything about my client intake process. So I don't want to like give away the farm here, but I had initially done like mostly email consultations. And if you've heard Jess talk for even a minute, you know that like that just doesn't work. And once you know that, it's like duh. But that's what I was doing. I was emailing back and forth brides and we'd agree on something and then they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, can we make the bridesmaid bouquets like, can you take out 3 flowers so that they fit into my budget? And I'd be like, sure, I'd be happy to do that. Instead of like, that's not how pricing for flowers works. But so I was just kind of working at the whim of everyone else, not myself. I wasn't really running my business. So once I read BBB, I immediately changed things. And then I had a consultation like right after I sort of changed things. I mean, it was within like a week, I think. And I had before that just been doing weddings for friends or friends of friends. And not even if they were like, I think at that point, like a $1,500 wedding was like very typical for me. And that's not what I was making. That was like with supplies and floral and everything. And then the very next wedding, I did a video consultation because they were like, they lived on the other side of the country. They immediately booked because I gave them a cap on the time where they had to decide. And they booked, they paid their deposit. I sent them a thank you gift. And it was like, I don't know, maybe like a $5,500 wedding. And then a year later, I've been totally in BBB, implementing everything I could. It's time to do the wedding. I do the wedding. I touch base with a photographer because I know how important it is to connect with photographers. I give her like a little box of stuff to shoot detail shots with, because I know I want to establish a great relationship, which is another thing I learned in BBB and through Jessica's teaching. And then she ends up submitting the photos from that wedding, and it gets published by Martha Stewart Weddings. So it's kind of like this whole, this whole process of like, oh my gosh, not only do you book the client that pays you more and treats you really well, you love the work you're doing. It's like one of the most beautiful vineyard weddings I've ever done. And then like you get to work with people who take their work seriously. So you get to now say like you're featured in Martha Stewart Weddings. Like it was just a whole kind of microcosm of what can happen if you just do the work. And it was so cool seeing all of that pay off. And I didn't have to stumble around trying to figure it out myself. I just listened to what Jessica said and then it worked.
It's like, yeah, there's steps, and if you do them, they work. And so it's like, I always tell people it isn't easy, but it is simple. Like it is simple. And Ashley, we've talked about this before too, like, because this is your first year in business, like, you know, the steps to take, like, and so when you have the roadmap laid out for you, here's exactly what to do. It takes all the guesswork out of it, which is really nice. So, okay. So Ashley, I do have a question for you. How has Business Behind the Blooms changed your life outside of your business?
Well, one, it's actually, so I've been wanting to not just do flowers, but also have my own business for years. So for one, it's actually allowing me to like live a dream. I remember, gosh, I think it was like 2009, one of my friends had like had us all write, like, what's like your like impractical big dream you want to try and accomplish. And mine was floral design. And I still have that somewhere. So it's like, just like the like actualization of actually doing what I've been wanting to do for years and years. I think on top of that, like not just being able to do it, because I could have just like started up and figured it out as I went, but like having confidence to do my business well has like translated into other areas of my life too. So not that I was like really like self-conscious or, had like poor self-esteem or anything, but I feel like it's given me more of a quiet confidence because I've found my purpose and I'm actually doing it in a successful way instead of feeling like I'm floundering and trying to, again, always learning things the hard way. Like I actually feel like, okay, I've learned, now I actually get to do it and have that confidence. Has just been like, I know I'm talking about the business more than my life, but just that confidence has been big. And then also with like boundaries, like I have always been a yes person. Like somebody asked me to do something before I even think, do I want to do this? Like I am inclined to be like, sure, I can make it happen. Like, and then, could be regretting that decision and very frustrated later. So I think this has helped me in my own life, not just in my business, but like having to think through in my business, what am I willing to do? What am I not willing to do? What do I want to say yes to? What do I want to say no to? And valuing my time. Like Trisha said, with, QuickBooks doesn't have a line item for that. Like, I don't want to work for free. Like that's a hobby. That's not a business. And so having more confidence in being able to like set boundaries that are appropriate for me, that actually help me live a life that I want to, and say yes more to my family. And we hope to have kids soon. So being able to do some of that now so that when I do have a family, my business doesn't have to feel like it has to change completely. Like I'm kind of putting those boundaries in place now. And then just recognizing that I work really hard and I'm worth like the
compensation. You're worth the compensation.
Totally. Yeah. Yep. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I want to just remind everybody who's watching that if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments section, and Kelly is going to get those to us. But if you have specific questions for anyone here, you can ask those. Or if you have questions just in general, you can ask those too. Don't be afraid. That's what we are here for. Okay, Trisha, can you tell me a little bit about the Bloomer community, the Bloomer Facebook group? Because I think when we say Facebook group, like people are like, oh, great, who doesn't have a Facebook group? Like there's a million Facebook groups, but just like what is so special about this community, and how does that help with implementing what you learned in Business Behind the Blooms?
It's incredible. So I feel like the Facebook group is definitely great if you guys are active on it. I'm always like one of the first couple of people to ask a question or answer a question, because I feel so connected. Even though I haven't met most of the Bloomers, I truly feel like it's an extension of my family, because they know what I'm going through. They're going through the same thing. And so we have that in common. But beyond that, the education does not end when the course ends. Jessica is constantly creating new content to share with us. And if I have a question, or if a situation comes up that I don't know how to handle, I immediately go back to my Zimmerman emails, and I can usually find a webinar on that subject. And if I can't find it there, then I hop on the Facebook group page, scroll down to see if it's already been answered. And if it's not, I ask my question, and a couple of hours later, Kelly or one of the other Bloomers answers it for me.
I love that. And that was something that was really important to me, because I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I had bought courses in the past when I was trying to learn things. And I felt like, and this was just my personal experience, that they told me about 60% of what I needed to know. And so I would leave the course with questions. And one time I tried to reach out to the author of the course via email. I even wrote a letter. I sent a gift, like thinking, surely if I send a gift, this person will call me back or something, like surely. And they never did. And so it was just very obvious that I was a number, and that I was a sales number. And that is one of the hardest parts, honestly, about sharing BBB during launch week and really like trying to get it out there, is I know so many people think, oh, she just wants my money. Like, this is just a number. I'm just a number. And it genuinely is not that. Like, this is something that I spent a whole lot of money. Like, I took $100,000 loan to go so that I could learn everything that I needed to know from like legit business people, CPAs, and, you know, went to a farm to really study florals and, you know, really figured out how to do things from a business perspective. And when I was able to like take the time out of my business to do that, you have the brain space to really kind of figure these things out. And I told myself, once I figured it out, once I kind of cracked the code, like, you're going to share this one day, and you're not going to be like that course author was. Like, you are going to have an amazing support system. You will be available if they need you, you know, like to this day, if somebody needs a mentoring session, we can set that up. You know what I mean? Like, Bloomers are the heartbeat of Zimmerman, and everything that we do is because of Bloomers. Like, we don't do anything new. Like, we're not just sitting around going, what should we do next? Like, we really are like, what have we been hearing that Bloomers need? And so that's what we do. So anyway, I think it's an incredible group, and I can say that all day long, but I think it's really helpful for people to hear that from you guys. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, Rachel, I want you to tell me one of the most impactful things that BBB taught you.
Gosh, there's some. I mean, I feel like every other week, my husband and I are talking about, like, if we're reflecting or something, and he always says, like, can you imagine how much different our lives would look if you didn't take BBB? Because it really did influence everything. Like, I have a better marriage because I took BBB. I'm a better mom because I took BBB. I'm a better friend because I took BBB. And I have a better business because I took BBB. And so I think that the most impactful thing, like if I had to distill it, is that I don't need to be Jessica Zimmerman or have a business like Jessica Zimmerman's to be able to take what you taught me and create the life and the business that I want for me. Because like you have kind of like Ashley was saying, like you have like a big deal business, like you have a team and you do like super large scale weddings sometimes. I mean, I'm sure not all the time, but and like you have a studio and I have a home studio, and like your kids are in school and I have tiny babies. And so like the day-to-day of our businesses look very different, but you taught me how to create the business that I want using tools you figured out. And so it's not like this is the roadmap to having Jessica Zimmerman's business. It's like, this is the roadmap of figuring out what you want and how to make it real for you. And so I think like if you're thinking to yourself, oh, this seems really great, but like, I am a home designer. Like I designed on my kitchen table for 2 years. Or if you're thinking like, I have young kids and the whole point of my doing this is that I don't want to have to send them to school. Well, my kids, like I found my kid underneath the sofa the other day because like I had to go do some work stuff. And I was like, oh, I guess he's under the sofa. And like they're with, I think like whatever you want to do, you can do it and be super successful and like make money so that you have more time so that you can create a business that fuels you and like makes you feel proud of yourself and makes you into the person you want to be or helps make you into the person you want to be. It's not like this is how you have Jessica's clients or Jessica's types of weddings or like Jessica's style of floral arranging, or this is how you have even a floral business. Like whatever you want, if you read BBB and actually put it into practice, like you can actually have it. And that's kind of mind blowing. Like realizing to yourself that all the things that you thought of as just dreams, like can be reality. That's kind of crazy if you think that that could actually be true for you, and it can. So I guess that would be in a nutshell what it was for me.
How do you follow that up? I mean, that was really nice. Thank you for saying that. But and guys, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, this is crazy that like my name is the author of this, because I think it just came out. Like, I don't know. It's just because I feel like a student of BBB too. And I often refer to it for things and think about things. And today I'm for example, this year we had to make a decision because last year we were doing these huge, amazing weddings. And we were also trying to like support our bloomers and give them what they needed. And I had to look at this and say, like, you got to practice what you preach here. And you're killing yourself trying to be great at both of these. So maybe you need to take a year and focus on one. And so this year we've been focusing on the education, just so that we can, get all of our systems right for that. Because we've got our systems right for, weddings. So it was like, sometimes to get where you want to get, you got to take a step back and you got to start building the foundation. And we just kind of went into education. We planned on selling this thing one time during a slower season, because in Arkansas, basically November through February is just dead. It's like duck season, Razorback football, holidays, it's snowing, so like nobody is getting married. So I was like, what if we just shared our story, put it in a PDF and sold it? Like it was just, we were going to do it one time. And so the fact that it resonated so deeply with people, and it's just crazy that this is kind of taken off. But what I mean by that is like, I'm applying it today in an education business, which has nothing to do with ordering flowers, but that ordering flowers chapter totally relates in how I order other things. You know what I mean? Find the best, most efficient system, figure that out, get quality people helping you on the other end. You know, I mean, all of that still relates. And so you've got to be able, and most of you who are watching are creative people, you're able to do that. You know what I mean? It can apply to your life for as long as you will allow it to. So, okay, Ashley. So when you bought BBB, and I find this fascinating because this is a question I get all the time. I haven't started my business yet. Is this right for me? And I want to shake my computer and scream to them, do you know where I would be right now if I had this information before I got started? Do you have any idea? And so you bought it, I think it was 4 or 5 months before you actually started your own business. So I want to know just kind of about your first year so far. You are, what, 8 months in? Mm-hmm. And so what does it look like? What have those meetings looked like? Have you booked anyone? Like, what's it looking like?
Yeah, so I bought it the spring of 2018, and then I took the fall of 2018 to actually like put things into place so I could start like officially launch in January of this year. So the first thing I did was I actually scheduled a photo shoot with a photographer I knew who he's booking weddings left and right. So we actually did a shoot together in January, which is a Jessica Zimmerman tip right there, like recognizing like your vendors and the people that are going to make real referrals, like that turn into real clients. So he's been really instrumental in sending people my way. So he's not the only one. I've reached out to some coordinators as well. But I've had 5 brides that I've met with, and I've booked all 5. And yeah, which like, I had just booked a bride last month, and I remember being like, I really like that I've met with 4 and I booked 4, like, and I was like pretty sure this girl would book, but it was like, okay, good. I was still at 5 and 5, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much where I wanted to be too. Like last fall, I knew when I was taking the time to really think through things that I didn't want to, again, because I'm trying to be really intentional about what I do and like who I book, that I didn't want to like book as many weddings as I possibly could and be really stressed out and frazzled. Like I'm right in my sweet spot for where I wanted to be this year. So that's been so far.
I think that's amazing. Like, I think that's amazing. I think that the fact that you've had those meetings and you've booked all of those are incredible in your first year. My goodness. I mean, your first year, like you don't even have like word of mouth yet. You know what I mean? So it's pretty incredible. And then too, I don't know, I just think that you are also equipped for when, because we all know this will happen one day when you have a meeting where you are like, this isn't a good fit. Like I thought it was, but it isn't. Or if someone says no, like you are also equipped to handle that and to know that then that wasn't meant for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think because I took the time to really think through who do I want to work with? Like what kind of business am I trying to build? Like, I think before, because I had done weddings before, like I was very like, oh, I've got to get this, like just almost like kind of grasping at getting the client. And I feel like I've had a lot more freedom to just like show up, be me, really connect with the client, and like to just really have more of like a, you know, yeah, if this is going to work well, it'll continue to go well. And if not, like I'm okay with that too. So
yeah. And one of the things that we teach in BBB is how to weed out the no's so that when you do meet with people, you're most likely to get a yes because you've weeded out the people that you don't want to work with. And we teach that system in the program. Okay, Rachel. So we touched on this a little bit, but tell me what happens if you realize that you don't want like a full-fledged capital B business after taking BBB? Like, is it still useful?
Yeah, I mean, in a word, yes. I think that taking BBB made me realize that all of those people that are like the big name designers that you see on Instagram or in magazines, like they might have the publicity, but that doesn't mean that they're meeting their sales goals. And that doesn't mean that they have a strong foundation. Like, I think we would be really surprised. And of course, this isn't true across the board, but I think we would be really surprised if we got to see the inside of some of these businesses that, like, from the outside we really revere. And I think for a while, I thought that I wanted that. I thought I wanted to be at the helm of like a big business, like make a name for myself and be really recognized. And then I, only through taking BBB, and actually, not to like, this isn't scripted, I promise. I'm not plugging this on purpose. But after I took Know Your Numbers and Annual Planning with Jessica, she had us do this exercise. Sorry if I'm ruining this, Jess, but where you have to like chart how you spend your day now and then chart how you want to spend your day. And I realized that in this like lofty goal brain of mine, I thought that I wanted to have this big business. And then I realized that like what that would take in the day to day didn't look like how I actually wanted to spend my days. And with BBB, like if that is what you want, then it's not going to take 70, 88-hour weeks. And it's not going to take like being a stranger to your family. But I think I just realized that like really that isn't what I wanted. What I wanted is like 5 incredible weddings a year. So I only had to be away from my babies like 5 weekends a year. I could even make it fun. Like, you know, they could be destinations and I could take my freelancers with me and it could be like this fun thing that I, you know, get to be away for a weekend. And so I think, yeah, it totally is. It kind of helped me identify what I did really want. And even though what I want is a smaller scale version of what some people want, it's just as impactful. Like I can make 6 figures doing that, even though I don't have a huge business because I don't have like the overhead, or like I can have a 6-figure business out of my basement in my basement studio. And that's not like to me a capital B business, but that's what works for me and that's what I want. And only through BBB did I get the tools that I needed to like take this kind of small thing. It's not small, but this thing that isn't like I'm throwing all of my energy just into my business. It's like more than a side hustle, but less than you know, big name business. And I can still make that exactly what I want it to be and make money and have it give me like purpose and confidence and stuff like that. So yes, I think that that's one of the coolest things BBB can do is help you figure out what role you want your business to play. And even if it's not the same as Jessica's business plays in her life, it's still like so helpful and valid. And I mean, I'm not lying when I say I use it every single day, even if it's not within my business.
Well, thanks. Thanks for saying that. That's really nice. I read a book one time about somebody that I really admire in business. Her name's Emily Lay, and she has the Simplified Planner, which I use every day of my life, and it wouldn't be able to make life without it. But she told a story one time about how she had this planner, and she had the opportunity to go on Shark Tank, and how she and her husband sat down, and he asked her or somebody asked her, I can't remember who, forgive me for not having the exact story right. Allegedly, someone asked her, do you want this like full-fledged business where you have warehouses and huge, team, like a huge team to employ, and you need HR and you need all these things, or do you want to work out of your home and have a small team and like self-publish? And she was like, B, all day long. Like, I don't want warehouses all over the US and having people that work for me that I've never met. And like, she was like, no. And so it just made, but like, until someone asked her that question, it was like, well, yeah, we need to go on Shark Tank. Yeah, we need to get investors. Yeah, we need to. And so I do love kind of taking a step back and I do it every year because as entrepreneurs, we are going to shift and pivot. And what we loved this year, we may want to do a little bit differently next year, and that's okay. And so to kind of have that annual check-in is really nice. So I'm glad to know that you also enjoy that. Okay, great. Ashley, we touched on this a little bit, but I want to know from your perspective, how do you feel that, how involved is the Zimmerman team after you buy BBB? Like, is it buy and goodbye, or like, what's your experience with it?
Yeah. So I can definitely, I've been able to tell since the beginning, even before I bought it, like you were giving a lot of good information away for free on Instagram, in your webinars, but like that you've made education and bloomers a priority. Because I remember the first time I actually talked to you, like had a mini mentoring session with you, I remember being like, this isn't weird at all. I'm not nervous at all because I see Jessica all the time. And now I just get to like actually ask her questions face to face. So like I said, before I even actually like officially met you, like I felt like I really knew you. And I know Trisha talked about the Facebook group too, which like I kind of equate to like having a bunch of friends that I can like group text and be like, hey, like I ran into this situation. Does anybody have any like info? And just how quickly and like how supportive and helpful people are. And I think because you've kind of set the standard of you're gonna share with us because we've like committed to you and buying the course. And so like it's a true community that's been built. And so I feel like there's that whole tone throughout like the bloomer community of we help each other. And I think one of my favorite things too is like after the course, I don't know if you're doing it this year, but you do webinars with your bloomers after the fact. And like, I feel like if it's possible, you get even more real during those. And just, yeah, like, because we've already like read the course, so we're able to ask more specific questions. And yeah, I feel like I've gotten an education, not just information. And like I said before, like I have a mentor in this business, which is just so cool. So
I love that. That's so cool. And one of the things that I think is really neat about that group that I've actually seen before is somebody like on the day of a wedding, like something happened with their mechanics or something, like it broke and they were like, this is what I have. What should I do? And like all these bloomers were in there saying, here's how you fix it. Here's how you do it. And like, that's amazing. Like how many times have you been in a situation where you're like, because I always laugh because my husband flips houses and he'll say like, oh, we're going to push the date back a week. And I'm like, we don't have that luxury in the wedding world. We don't have that, like that ceremony is happening. And so we can't just go home and like think about it and figure it out and Google some help. Like you got to have some help right then and there. And so that's what I love about it. Okay. Trisha, tell me, what does your business look like now? And how do you use BBB day to day?
First word that comes to my mind is profitable. Not that I'm not passionate and I don't love the creative aspect of it. And I do love wedding planning and dealing with the clients, but I'm very business minded. I pay attention to what my bank account looks like on a daily basis. And all three of the roles that I'm playing or the jobs that I have are finally full-fledged profitable businesses. And I never, ever, ever thought that I would get there. I thought maybe I could like leave one role and the other two would be profitable, but I think through BBB, I did something that I never thought was possible, and I'm actually making money off of all three. So that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Profitable is amazing. And I always laugh when people say, like, yeah, I want to be a business, but I'm okay paying for this and this and this. And I'm like, no, if you're in business, you're in business to make money. Like we make money so that we can take it home and support our family and do things. And you know what I mean? Like this isn't, it's not like, it's not nice hour. You know what I mean? Like it's a business, and you need to treat it like a business. So yeah, being profitable, that means that there's money left over in the bank for you.
You're you're doing something right.
Yeah. So that is the best thing. And I find most people, when they start BBB, who have been in business, have no idea how much money they've made on weddings. Like, they just don't know. They don't leave the wedding knowing if they're profitable or not. And when I started figuring that out, one of the biggest eye openers was I did one wedding one time. I will never do it again, for a family member. And because it was my family, and because I knew a lot of people that were going to be there. Like, I just, along the way, I would be like, oh, let's upgrade to garden roses on that part. Oh, like just a little bit here and there. And when I finally went through and like added everything up, I had spent out of my money like over $1,000 of like my money. And so I didn't even like break even. I lost money because of those things. And now, like, that does not happen at all. I am making good money on weddings. So, okay. So yes, profitable is an important thing. Okay, Rachel, tell me how BBB influenced your life outside of business.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I kind of talked about this earlier, but I think that especially in a creative industry, whether it's floral design or wedding planning or cake design or whatever, when you don't have something tangible all the time, like, you have to charge, like Trisha was saying, you have to charge not just for the product that you're buying, but like, no one else can do what you do. So I think it just gave me, before BBB, I kind of thought like, well, okay, I'm going to charge people for like the flowers that I'm buying and like the supplies and things like that. But I didn't really value what I was bringing to the table that like no one else could bring to the table. That it's not just a pile of flowers, it's like an arrangement, and it's knowledge about how to put things together and how to keep flowers alive, and ideas about what to pitch in a design meeting. And I think I just didn't value the gifts that I had. And because it came naturally to me, I thought that it wasn't worth other people caring about or other people's money. It was like, oh, this is easy for me, so it's easy for everyone, and it doesn't matter, and it's not valuable. And I think I just stopped caring about what other people thought and realized, like, no, my expertise and my brain and my creativity and who I am is worth making money from. And that's not greedy. That's like, that's just like a given. Like, that should just be a given. And if people aren't going to treat it like that, then I don't need to work with them. And so, like, of course that influenced who I work with, but then I carry that mentality into the rest of my life of like, of course there are things that I'm always improving on, but there are some things that are just who I am. And like, the people who are important in my life value those things. And so I don't need to like let people into my life who aren't going to value me and like understand what I prioritize. And I think I realized that boundaries can give you freedom. And so BBB taught me all of these like boundaries on how to do certain things. And then I realized in my life outside of business, like, if I implement strong boundaries, well, then I know what I'm saying yes to. I know what I'm saying no to. And that gives me real freedom. And that gives me, that like allows me to be who I want to be instead of just responding to what people need from me, which was kind of huge, I guess, for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we have two more things, and then we are going to get to your questions. So if you are hanging out with us live, then please ask any questions that you have in the comment section, because we are about to get to those. Ashley, tell us really quickly, like, what you're focused on really with like transforming this year, and what's next on your list for next year. And do you think BBB will be useful in your business year after year?
Yeah, so this year, I couldn't implement everything perfectly from BBB. But I really focused on the sales process and meeting with clients. And not only like my proposal process, but also the thing I really focused on was like leading those meetings and actually being the one that's like, okay, like you've never been married before. Let me tell you how this works, what my process is. And so I feel like I was really able to, through the tools and like you telling us how you do things, I was able to really connect with my clients and serve them well, while also just being the one leading it instead of, I think Rachel said it earlier, like having my business kind of run me instead of me run my business. So that's been the biggest thing I focused on. And next year, I want to tighten up my ordering of flowers. And then I'm actually going to do annual planning this year. So really just like digging into my numbers after having gone through this year and being able to kind of make more strategic decisions in the future. And like, if it wasn't for BBB, I would not be as clear on what the next thing is I should focus on. So I feel like I have a plan, I have some strategy in place that I can put into action. And I'm assuming it'll be like that the next year because there's always going to be something for me to improve upon. And it's a wealth of information. So
Yeah. And what she's referring to, and I think Rachel referred to it once as well, is the past 2 years we've done, past couple years, we've done a program called Know Your Numbers and annual planning, and with just bloomers. And this year we're actually going to open that up to the public, and we will do that in January of 2020. So we are excited about that. Okay, so your favorite Jessica-ism. So Rachel, we will start with you.
Sorry, I think my connection's breaking up. So hopefully I'm not talking over anyone right now. Okay, I think Jess is back. My favorite Jessica-ism is, oh gosh, now I'm forgetting it. And I said what it was earlier. So what did I say? Oh, Jessica encourages people to say, that's just not how we do things. And that is like its own sentence. So sometimes, like I've dealt with planners who are kind of pushing a way that they usually do things, or brides asking for stuff that I just don't do. And I have practiced, and now I feel confident saying, I understand that that might be your expectation, but that's just not how we do things. This is how we do it. And then educating, like with grace, but but saying like, yeah, I understand that other designers probably do that. That's not how we do it. And sometimes I'll explain this is why, but I don't have to explain this is why. And if they don't understand that, then I don't have to work with them, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, Trisha.
So my favorite Jessica-ism is, and this goes back to the course that I took right before BBB. It was from a great wedding designer, but she was very passionate about each variety of flower. And so she spent a lot of time talking about how, you know, the stem bends this way and how Mother Nature says that it should bend this way. And so it was really philosophical. And I personally just could not relate to that because I added floral design on simply to make more money. And so probably 6 months into the course, Jessica was on a webinar and she goes, y'all, I'm going to tell you the truth. I could never touch another flower again and be completely satisfied. And I was like, yes, finally someone not only feels that same way, but has the courage to say it. And so I knew right then that I was where I was supposed to be, and that it was okay that I wasn't passionate about flowers. I could still be passionate about making the profit from the floral design. So that's my favorite.
Right. I love that. And it's true. Like some people they are all flowers. Like we have bloomers that are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to like die if somebody tells me I can't touch a flower again. And then we have people who are like, this is just a means of, you know, money. for me, this is a business. And so, and everything in between. So I think that it's actually really cool to have all the different scenarios, but yeah, I'm always going to give it to you straight. Okay. Ashley, are you there? Okay. We will wait. Maybe she will be back in a minute. Okay. So going to the questions, here we go. This says, not a question, but Julie in the comments resonates with Rachel's story. She is currently a teacher, literally just had to leave the live because lunchtime is almost over. So Rachel, can you kind of just like speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, I was a middle school English teacher, and I loved it. I don't know if I thought to myself, oh, I could never do anything else. I've always been kind of a multi-passionate creative person. And for the time being, that just was like where I wanted to pour that out. But then, like I said, I got pregnant with my daughter, which isn't why I did floral design. I think I would have ended up there anyway. I think it was just kind of a catalyst for me of realizing that I wanted to spend my days differently. So yeah, so I quit my teaching job so that when I had my daughter, I would be home. And when I was home with her is really when I started doing floral design more seriously. So for me, my answer was, I'm married, so I had another stream of income coming in. So if you have that, I would say like buy BBB, come up with a plan, and then dive into it. Like finish out the year while you set up your systems and figure out like based on BBB what you need to have prepared, and like maybe start, putting a brand together however you can right now. And just start, because if you wait for things to be, sorry, there was a bug, so I was spotting it. If you wait for things to be perfect, you will never start. So I think the best way to figure out if this is what you want is to start doing it, and then you'll get clarity real quickly. But if you don't have that and you need to keep your teaching job or whatever job it is, then I would say that's a great schedule. If you get off, which I know like teachers, maybe if they're done by 3, they're not ever really done, but you can work weekends. You do what you have to do now so that you can have what you want a year from now or 10 years from now. So then I would still say, yeah, get BBB, dive into it, sink your teeth into it, and figure out what your 6-month plan is for turning a side hustle into a full-time gig, or your 1-year plan, or your 3-year plan. But figure out what works for you and then make it happen.
Okay, great. Trisha, I have a question for you. This person asks, do you think the steps and processes can apply to other types of events more than just weddings? Trisha, you're going to have to unmute.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So as a venue director, I do probably 50% weddings, and the other 50% are not wedding related whatsoever. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Rachel, this one says, I did a lot of events. My life changed so much after I had children. I had to let my event business go due to the time. Is BBB a program that can help me get back in the game?
Yeah, totally. I think that different things work for different stages in your life. So there might have been a time where your event business looked a certain way because you didn't have kids, and then now you do. So it might not be like version 2.0 of the business you had before. It might look a lot different. You might do video consultations because you have children living in your home with you and you want to have a home studio. You might like it will look different, but BBB will show you like what are the essentials and then what are the things that you can tweak so it works for you. And I have a almost 3-year-old and I have a 5-month-old. Actually, he's 5 months old today. So I think like whatever your situation, you can make it work for you. For me, I know that I love moms. My mom was this type of mom. She was an incredible mom and could be like 100% hands-on momming. and was so good at that. And now she works and she loves that too. I need something that I can do with momming. So I have some brain space every day that's devoted to not just a mom, but focused on mom things, you know? And so for me, my business gives me the freedom to have that stuff that's just mine, like a business that's mine. So I think you can totally get back into it. You just have to figure out what it's going to look like that works for you. And when you run your business and your clients don't run your business, then you decide when you're available and you can build it around your priority, which is being a mom.
Amen to that. Okay, Trisha, don't forget to unmute. This person says, I am a venue operator and my biggest obstacle is how to stop doing tours for couples who can't afford the venue. I have to give all pricing out before they get here because they are comparing prices with tons and tons of venue in the area. I have trouble closing the sale. So I guess like, it's not that we necessarily have to like solve the problem, but like, how does BBB help with that?
So Jessica touches on that. She gives you an entire chapter on weeding those people out before you spend sometimes days on working on a proposal. And if you implement those systems before you even make an appointment with those people to take a tour, you're going to realize that half of them are not your ideal clients and you don't have to spend your time touring. I think that probably, now thinking back, that chapter saved me the most time with my role as a venue director, because I had never told anyone that they couldn't take a tour. Even though like in the back of my mind, I knew this probably wasn't my ideal client. I thought I could sell them once I got them there. But again, I didn't consider the amount of time that it was going to take just to get them in the door, then have the tour, and then have the 50 follow-up questions that come after the tour. So you'll find it in BBB.
Yeah. And I think too, without like just giving away the farm, I think that one of the things that we teach is like, if you don't like the way something's going, how do we start to shift the way we think on this? How do we shift our mindset? How do we start to go, I don't like that. Like, I don't like doing tours for people who can't afford my venue.
Yeah.
How can we make sure that that never happens again? And we work on reframing that. And so you have been taught, because this, I can't help myself, I got to go into just a tiny rant, but you have been taught, because that's how it's always been done at that venue or whatever, that this is the process. This is the way this goes. Someone inquires, you give them a tour. We teach someone inquires, step, 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 step. If they get past those steps, then you give them the tour. But this is going to weed out 99.9% of the people who can't afford the venue, so that it is no longer wasting your time. And the other thing is, most of these steps can be automated. Okay. So we teach you that. Okay, Ashley, here we go. I'm glad you're back. Hi, welcome. Technology is a beautiful yet frustrating thing at the same time. I have been there many a time. Someone says, I want to start my own business, but I'm really nervous. Like, does BBB give you, and I just want to touch on this really quickly. I think that you are not going to get clarity on something until you experience it in some way. And so because you did BBB before you started your business. So how did BBB give you that clarity? And were you nervous?
Yeah. So I'm going to use a different example. So for a long time, I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I was a medical assistant right after college, and I just was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But I had to go back to school for nursing, and I had to do prereqs before I could even apply to nursing school. And I probably spent 2 years just thinking about being a nurse. And then when I took the first prerequisite class, I realized I don't want to, for the next 3 years of my life, go to school for this. Like, I don't want this bad enough to actually do what I need to get to where I need to be. So part of me was like kicking myself. I'm like, if I would have taken this class 2 years ago, I would already know and would have already moved on. I would have been able to close that door. But I feel like in the same way with floral design, like I feel like it's really easy, at least for me, to think about things, to research things, to learn about things. Like I can kind of be a content junkie, like I like learning. But when it comes to actually making decisions for me, I realize I have to do it in motion. Like I can't figure something out thinking about it. I actually have to try it to see if to find clarity, basically. Like there's a lot of clarity in action. So I think starting out, even if you're nervous about your business or what it is you want to do, I mean, like you've kind of heard from each of us, Business Behind the Blooms helps your business, it helps your floral design business, but it actually translates into a lot of other things. So I think even if at the end of the day you realize, yeah, you don't want a big B business, or maybe you don't want to do floral design at all, but you like having the you'll regret the things you don't do more than the things you do. And if you actually take action and try and figure that out, I feel like you can save yourself a lot of time, heartache, stress, all of that. So
I totally agree. Okay. We have a few more. We're going to try to knock these out. This, I don't know which one of you wants to answer it. I'm just going to ask the question and see if you feel led to answer it. This person says, I have a retail floral shop and we do weddings, but I really want to increase my daily sales. The program talks a lot about increasing your wedding business, but would the program apply just as much for my retail business? Rachel, you want to take it? Or Trisha, either one?
I get whatever. I can say something short, and then Trisha, do you want to go?
Sounds good. Go.
Okay. So I would say that it teaches you how to be more profitable at whatever it is you want to do. Floral, not floral, weddings, retail, nothing wedding related at all. Like it's just is going to teach you how to be a good business person. So it will, while the examples used might be more wedding related, everything you learn you can translate to retail. Like even if you just go to the BBB website and look at the chapters, like the listings of the chapters, you're going to see things like my sales process or like client interactions. And I'm sure from knowing what those are about, that will give you good ideas of like how to make repeat customers and how to customize your customer experience so that people are going to continually shop from you like year after year, or how to have like accounts for sympathy flowers or whatever it is you want. Like it'll teach you how to do that really well.
That's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. So Rachel just summed it up.
All right, perfect. And I do think like no matter what, like I said, I can apply it to the education portion of my business. When I wrote it, I was doing just floral design, and so it's written from that perspective. But I think that you can apply it to just about anything. That if you just see the like, okay, this was the problem, and this is how it was solved. What's my problem, and how can I use this system to solve my problem? Okay. Let's see, a couple more, and then we'll try to get out of here in 10 minutes. Okay. Rachel, would this work for someone that is just starting out? I work out of my home, not sure how to consult and do client meetings from my home. Do I need a professional studio before I can be taken seriously?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot about that in BBB. And I would say, like, again, just to reiterate, you can, whatever you want to do, you can make work for you. So Jessica does have a professional studio. I do not have a professional studio, but the core of what Jessica teaches about her sales process is that you need to be able to have that face-to-face. So for me, I make that face-to-face happen over a lot of like video meetings, just like this. Like you could use Zoom, the program we're using now. I use like Google Meetings or something. and I send out a link and we hop on, and I get to establish a relationship right from the beginning from my home studio. No one needs to know, and no one cares. Like, I've never had someone say, "Ooh, can we come see where you do flowers? Because if you don't have a professional studio, then you're not the real deal." Like, no one knows that my studio is in my basement and that my cooler is a cool bot thing that my husband built in a closet. Like, no one cares about that. They care about the how I take care of them and the end product. So if I could have gotten this before my husband and I personally paid for like 10 weddings of people, that would have been great. I wish I had this when I was just starting out. I think it's like, would you rather do job training for any other kind? Like, would you rather go to dental school before you become a dentist or after? Like, obviously before you become a dentist, or you're going to screw up a lot of people's teeth. So I would say, yeah, if you're just starting out, like, what are you waiting for? Do it now. Don't wait to make the mistakes, because they will come regardless. Like, there's going to be mistakes, but this tells you how you deal with those mistakes and how you avoid the avoidable mistakes. So yeah, go for it.
Perfect. Okay, we've got 3 more, and I'm going to try to answer them quickly. And if y'all want to chime in, just tell me. Someone says, where would I go for my first wedding? I've only been doing parties and events. However, I'm a hopeless romantic and I love weddings. Please help. So what I teach in BBB is how to set yourself up for that. So whether it's weddings or whatever, it starts with your website, your SEO. When people search for a wedding planner or wedding florist on Google, how to get your name to pop up, who to contact in your area to help you with your first client. A lot of our students are people who haven't booked a wedding before. And I mean, we have one right here, Ashley, and she has 5 weddings this year that she's booked every single person that she's met with. And that's her being super intentional. And I guarantee you, if she wanted to meet with 10 people this year, she would have met with 10 people this year and booked 10. So, I mean, yeah, we teach you in there kind of how to do all of that. Someone said, and I think this was a follow-up question from the venue operator, don't people find it frustrating with questions and follow-ups before a meeting? No, they don't, because they don't know any different. You are in charge. You're the business owner. And so they haven't ever experienced this with you before. So when they contact you and you say, thank you, here's how this process works, they are grateful. They are grateful to have been given a plan of action. Like, this is how this works. I love that. I like to give an example of when we built a house. That was hard-earned money. Like, that was hard-earned money. And that's hard to just hand over to someone. But our builder gave us an exact plan. This is how this works. We reach out to the builder and say, we'd like you to build our house. We've heard good things. And he's like, okay, here's how this works. This is what I need from you. Will be our process. Like, if this doesn't work, then I'm not the builder for you. You know, I mean, it doesn't straight up say that, but you get that idea. And so anyway, I didn't reach out to another builder, so I didn't know that there was another way. You know what I mean? I was like, I like this guy because he's going to take good care of us, because he's showing me exactly what this process looks like. So that's the thing, is that you really have to clearly communicate, because if they're going from reaching out to you to just going straight to look at the venue, then it's like they're coming with a lot of questions. So let's try to answer as many of those questions up front, and let seeing the venue be one of the final steps. Does that make sense? Not maybe the final step, but maybe it doesn't have to be the first step. But no, they're not frustrated. They're actually thrilled that someone is holding their hand and guiding them through the process, and that you've taken out all the guesswork. Okay. Let's see. I'm early in the process of starting my new business, which is a wedding styling company rather than wedding planning. Would this be suitable? 100%. You just have to, like we've said throughout this live, you've got to just take out, floral ordering, and and think about wedding styling ordering, or meeting with a client. I think they would go hand in hand, so yeah, I think it's very relatable. You just have to remember that when you're reading it, it's not going to read as a wedding stylist, it's not going to. It's going to read as a wedding floral designer. But if you can, shift your brain into thinking, how could this apply to me? Then it will do you a lot of good. I've done a few weddings, but want to really get myself out there more. I feel that people want me to go lower in price since I work from home. Ashley, what do you have to say about that? Someone who's like, now I say that's just an excuse, but you go ahead.
I would agree. I think to me, it sounds like maybe you're thinking you're not worth the price because you work at home versus, unless maybe somebody has said that to you, but I definitely understand that feeling. And I think I think we've kind of all touched on it, like recognizing like your time, your knowledge, what unique things you bring to this are actually worth, like, you need to decide for you what that's worth. And I would say all of us across the board would say our time's very valuable. Like what we bring to clients is very valuable. And whether you work from home or a studio, like, I think that's just kind of a non-point. Like it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Okay, and someone says, I have a full-fledged cleaning business and need to get out of it, and I'm wanting to have a flower shop. I'm finding it hard to move onward. Does this help transition me into it? I need the income as I start flower business, if that makes any sense. So here's what I would say to you. If this is something that you're thinking you might want to do, one of the things that I really like about BBB, and my team has said not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I just don't know how else to be but really honest. But we had a student one time who was trying to decide between Floral or this other business. And she read BBB and she realized that's not what I want to spend. Like floral design, wedding industry, everyone thinks, and you can give me like some praise hands in the comments, but everyone thinks that we just go and we like sprinkle some fairy dust in a room and that it becomes beautiful and you've just got the best job. I mean, that would just be so much fun if I could be a wedding planner and do flowers. I mean, that just must be so much fun. And you just want to slap them silly into reality and be like, that's not true. That's not, we worked so hard. And I think that this person kind of thought that that's what this would be. And once she read it, she realized, wow, I want to pursue this. And she said, it was the best money I ever spent because it saved me going into years and years of something that I realized wasn't for me. So I think if anything, it will give you clarity. I think it will give you clarity into maybe the cleaning business won't seem so bad. Or maybe you're like, this is exactly what I want to be doing. I will say too, that our annual planning program that we have coming out in January 2020 is a great thing to get if you're having questions about what to do next. But it's even better if you do it after you go through the BBB program. Like it's even better. So I mean, that's totally your call, but I think that it would be really, it would give you some clarity for sure. Okay, I think that is it. I think that's all we have trouble. Oh, we have one more, sorry. I'm having a bit of trouble with pricing. I don't want to charge too much. Guess what? We have a whole chapter about pricing in BBB, and all three of these people have implemented that pricing chapter. All three of these people are making money. All three of these people have learned the formula on how to price. They have learned how to not be afraid of presenting their pricing. And so that is a life-changing chapter, I think, a business-changing, life-changing chapter. So Rachel, Trisha, Ashley, I want to say thank you for joining us today and being so willing to share everything. And I just want to end really quickly and go around really quickly and just say, for those that are watching that are just on the fence and they're just like, I don't know, man, this has been great, but I just don't know. Like, what would you say to them? Let's start with you, Rachel, and then we'll go to Trisha and then Ashley.
I guess I would ask, like, what are you afraid of? Because if you're afraid of $2,000 or, a little less than $2,000 going down the drain, that's not going to happen because even if you decide like this business isn't for you, you're going to learn stuff that will apply, to your business. It's like if you have an undergraduate degree that has nothing with nothing to do with what you're doing right now, like you still take your college experience and apply it to your life. I think if you're afraid that you that your business won't transfer. I just think that a lot of times when we say no to things, it's fear-based. And I think ask yourself, what's at the root of that fear? And it's probably that you're afraid that you won't, what if you invest and then your dreams don't come true? And a sure way to make sure that doesn't happen is to never try. If you don't say yes, then it's a definite no. So why not say yes, and go for it? Because the surest way to fail is to never try.
Trisha.
So I wanted to say that if any of you guys ever want to reach out to me, PM me, I will sing Jessica's praises anytime. If you have specific questions about it, how it helped me personally, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. And I think it does go back to what Rachel said. What do you have to lose? Yes. Is it a financial investment? Absolutely. But my message is coming from someone who was very successful after I implemented it and who was not successful before BBB. So it's really hard for me not to just want to shake you and say, you have to get this course. I'm telling you, it is life-changing. So I almost feel like you can't afford not to get it. Bottom line.
Thank you. Okay, Ashley, we're going to end with you.
Okay. I feel like if you're watching this and you've been following Jessica this week, there's some reason you're doing that. And it's either because you want to improve your business or you want to start your business. And this is an answer to that question, to those prayers. And again, it's not just information you're getting, it's an education, which I feel like is never wasted, is kind of priceless in a sense. And then a community and a mentor. I just feel like you're here, it's for a reason, and you should invest in yourself. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. If you are interested, it is only available for 2.5 more days. You can go to thebusinessbehindtheblooms.com to learn more. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out to us. You can email Kelly, Kellie, at Zimmerman Events, that's with an S.com. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.